Welcome to week 5 of English 11. We have another full week ahead of us, 3 days of class. We're going to start off Monday with a Kahoot to kind of review what we talked about with introductions in our writer's workshop notes. And then we have our first journal entry this week. Love at first sight. Some people believe it, some people don't. What do you think? Can two people genuinely fall in love the first moment that they see each other? You're going to respond to your thoughts right here. And then we're going to take a look at a John Green video, which is linked down here if you need to watch it because you're absent on Monday. It's called, or the video is about lateral reading. We're going to discuss and try to answer these questions. What is lateral reading and why is it important? And then for Tuesday and Wednesday, we are going to start off with some reading time, and then we have some writer's workshop notes to go through. So today, in this for Tuesday and Wednesday, we are talking about strong and thorough textual evidence. So you will fill in when you see a slide like this, and then I click, you're going to fill in some notes on this. So with strong, thorough evidence, this is what I mean by that. Your evidence is kind of like the guest speakers that you bring in to support your thesis, what you're trying to argue. Strong meaning that it's reliable, directly supports the claim, and thorough meaning that you have enough evidence to fully prove that claim. There are different types of evidence. If you had me last year, you should remember, or I hope you would remember, learning about this in our argumentative writing unit: facts, numbers, examples, quotes, and analogies. And then there's other ways that you can use evidence to be persuasive. That would be logos, pathos, and ethos. Logos is logic and reason. Pathos is empathy and emotion. And ethos is all about expertise and education. And then here are some things that you want to avoid. Obvious and common information, kind of like common sense stuff. Anything that's irrelevant, which that even sounds irrelevant to bring up, but trust me, you're going to want to remember that. Info that's not, or that's on topic, but it doesn't prove the claim. If you're providing all this other information that doesn't directly support what you're talking about, it doesn't really matter to bring it up. Using a random person's opinion, again, we want to make sure we have good ethos. Citing long quotes to take up space. I know that's a classic procrastinator tool. Last minute, I got to get the word count in there, but we don't want to do that. And then citing evidence without a purpose. So what you are going to do is in class, I'm going to give you cutouts of the examples that you're about to see on the screen, and your job within your table groups is to organize these into the two categories of a strong example and a weak example. And then I'll show you on the screen which one is actually which. So this part you can't really do, and you don't have slides to do, so I'm just going to zoom past this. Things to consider when you're checking your evidence: does it support your position? It should support you, but not overpower you. You got to find the balance. Do you use different types of evidence to prove your claims? And then, is your evidence the best available, or should you do more searching? And then, are you using evidence with a purpose? Think about what each piece of evidence does for your argument and how your audience will react to it. Then you're going to do a final recap on these notes with answering these two questions. And then we are going to officially look over the rubric and instructions for this paper. So I am going to do that for you because I don't really want to go over this in the video, but I feel that it might be necessary, especially if you're gone. So again, research is an action that you take when you investigate a topic or a problem to discover ideas, solutions, or conclusions. This process requires you to establish relevant and sufficient facts that are about the topic from credible sources. Ideally, you are choosing a topic of your own interest, and you're going to write a paper on it through research on a specific issue. So you're crafting a problem or a question around the topic of your choice. And here's what you need to include. You are going to have 3 sources that are from like online databases, but then I'm requiring at least one source to be one of these options: a survey that you conduct yourself, an interview that you conduct yourself, an observation, a focus group, or a excerpt or some sort of chapter or paragraph from a nonfiction book. When you are working on your paper, at the very end, you're going to highlight all of your sources so that I can very clearly see what you are using. And then you're also going to be I'm going to be looking at how you integrate your evidence, which that we'll learn more about in the rest of this video. So I'm not going to go through this part with you, but you can scroll through and read what the distinction is to get a 3 versus a 4 and so on. This is all linked on Canvas, and I'm also going to be providing you a paper copy. So let's get back to our slides. And then here is kind of the timeline of how I want to do papers, because I've realized in the past, based off of my own experience and observation, that the feedback that your teacher gives you kind of comes a little bit too late. So we're going to do this in a slightly different way than maybe what you're used to. You are going to choose a topic and create your thesis, and I am going to like do a very brief check-in with you to make sure that that is a actual topic that you could do research on. You're going to work on your rough draft one section at a time, just kind of slowly going through it. You're going to get some peer feedback on that rough draft. After you get your peer feedback, your job is to revise, and that will be revision number 1. You are going to turn in your revised rough draft. So essentially, this should be your second draft, and you're going to get feedback from me. If you are happy with the feedback and the grade that you get, then you are done and you don't have to do anything else. If you're unhappy, you could choose to just be done, but you have the option to meet with me, revise again, and get a revised grade. The grade that you get on that second revision will be your final grade. So for example, if you, on that first draft, you get it graded back from me with comments and it is a 3, and you were totally satisfied with just having a 3, which is proficient, then that's great. But maybe you're a real go-getter and you want a 4, you have the option to revise it if you want. The only time, or the only score that you cannot revise, is if you get a 4, because there's nothing higher than getting a 4. So anyway, that's the timeline of kind of what we're looking at. So to begin, just, I'm going to hand back that paper that you gave me about the 10 things that you're slightly interested in. You're going to consider your daily search history, consider music, news, and media. What do you often search? You're going to record a list of your most searched topics. And then you are going to write a list of your favorites: subjects in school, musicians, reading genres, local, national, global causes, extracurricular activities, movies or movie genres, hobbies, personal passions, careers, and jobs. You're just going to make a list. This is us brainstorming. And then we're going to take a look at some more writer's workshop notes. You're going to take some notes on this. So integrating your evidence, once we find all our sources and we need to integrate them, this is how we do it. Again, it's kind of like you're passing the mic to your guest speakers. And to be a great host, you have to introduce your guest speakers by passing the microphone, and also to avoid plagiarism. So you're going to fill in the blanks here. If you don't integrate your evidence, things are just going to get awkward. It's not going to flow. It'll just be really choppy, and we don't want that. Things could also get confusing because your reader needs to have clear signals as to when you are talking and when you're not. And then obviously to make sure that you are not plagiarizing. So there are 3 methods that you can use to cite your sources: intro, comma, with your quote, blended, or a colon. So here's what that looks like: an introductory phrase and a full quote. You are using this method if you need to quote a full sentence from your source. And then there's patterns that you should see: author, verb, comma, parentheses, Smith claims, comma. If you don't integrate your quotes, your writing will not flow. Or if you don't integrate your quotes, your writing will not flow, comma, Smith claims too. Your varying verbs. There's so many different ways to say that somebody says something other than just saying they said, as illustrated by this. And also, if you take a look at the bulletin board right next to my whiteboard in my classroom, you're going to see that all of this information is listed on a poster, which can be helpful to reflect on. Method 2 is your words quote your words. So blended, meaning it's kind of like a sandwich. And you use this method only if you need to quote a phrase or a few words from the source, but you kind of want more of your own words in there. And then method 3 is the colon. So complete sentence, colon, quote. Condensing your quote. So your direct quote should be 3 sentences or less. If you go above 3 sentences, you're kind of in dangerous territory, because again, we don't want to just copy and paste a ton of information from the source that we have. We want more of our own writing. And so here's an example of that. You can use an ellipses if you want to omit a section of a quote, but not alter the meaning. And then a rule of thumb: if you can say it better, put it in your own words by paraphrasing or summarizing. If the quote is very specific, statistical, technical, descriptive, or illustrative, and you can't put it in your own words, then you should definitely directly quote it. So now we are on Thursday and Friday's version of the video. So we're starting off with reading time in class. And then instead of me lecturing on this, you're going to click on the link that's in Canvas, look through this, and discuss at your table groups what information you're finding about conclusions. And then we'll kind of review it together in class. And then we are going to talk about the due date timeline of your paper and how long this whole process will take. So this is week 5. Our goal this week is to finish these writer workshop notes for Ms. Bizzizo to come in and talk to us about how to research, what sources or databases to use, and all that. And then your ultimate goal by the end of the week is to decide what topic you want to focus on and then begin that research process. On week 6, we have only 2 days of class because week 6 there's no school on Friday, and then there is a PSAT day on Wednesday, so I only get to see you twice. So we will do a crumple and shoot review. We're going to continue searching for sources, and then I'm going to do some check-ins with you to make sure that you have a topic that you can actually write a paper on. Week 7, we're going to make an outline, start writing our annotated bibliography and learn what that is, and then you're going to start writing your first draft. Week 8 will be continuing writing your first draft. You're going to finish the first draft and the annotated bibliography. And then your peer review and edit and turning in your revised first draft will be week 9. Here are some due dates. These are the final due dates. Annotated bibliography is due Thursday, November 2nd. The required revised essay is due Friday, November 3rd. And then if you would like to revise again, depending on what grade and feedback you get, that will be due on the 21st. So Ms. Bizzizo is going to come in and give us a speech about how to conduct research. And then you are going to use these slides to kind of help you narrow down what you want to focus on. So narrow down your top 2 choices of what you're thinking. And then this slide gives you information on how to create a research question. You're going to kind of come up with a couple drafts of 3 research questions, and then you're going to fill this out for me to ultimately tell me what you were thinking you want to search. And then you're going to create a folder in your Google Drive to collect all those sources. And that is week 5. If you have any questions, please let me know.